Bem-vindos à Cinemateca Brasileira. Algumas recomendações importantes. Desliguem celulares e quaisquer outros aparelhos que possam emitir ruído. Por motivos de segurança, lembramos que é proibido fumar e entrar na sala com comida, latas e garrafas. Os corredores foram projetados para perfeita circulação. Extintores de incêndio estão estrategicamente localizados e sinalizados, e a brigada de incêndio está pronta para orientá-los. Em caso de incêndio ou falta de energia, luzes de emergência irão se acender automaticamente. Assim, é só manter a calma e dirigir-se à saída de emergência mais próxima. Para abrir a porta, basta empurrar a barra. Filmar ou fotografar somente com autorização prévia. Boa sessão!
Bom, boa noite. Sou Marcelo Trotta, presidente da ABC atualmente. Chegamos, lamentavelmente, à última mesa dessa Semana ABC 2018. Como sempre, um trabalho hercúleo aqui da nossa turma para botar de pé essa semana. Fico muito feliz com a presença de vocês aqui. A gente agradece mesmo de coração. E foi uma semana muito intensa, com a casa sempre cheia. É realmente muito emocionante e é legal que a gente sente que isso aqui é uma coisa de troca, né? Não é só a gente que está projetando aí para vocês também estão projetando aqui para a gente. Então, eu queria agradecer rapidamente os nossos patrocinadores. A Semana ABC é uma co-realização com a Cinemateca Brasileira, né? Nossa super parceira. Os patrocinadores são a SP Cine, a Secretaria Municipal de Cultura da Prefeitura de São Paulo, a ARRI, a Canon, a Cinecam, a Cine Society, Fuji, Panasonic, Sony ZEISS. Os nossos apoiadores foram a Cine, a Elétrica, a FAAP, a Lumatec, Senac, Cine, White Gorilla e a Zumbi Post. A gente também tem uma turma que ajudou a gente na promoção, que foi a Filme B, o Guia Boca a Boca, a Revista de Cinema, a Revista Exibidor e a Revista Panorama Audiovisual. E a gente também teve a colaboração de várias entidades aqui, como sempre, ajudando a gente aqui na Semana ABC 2018. Queria também agradecer especialmente as nossas produtoras, que deram maior gás aí durante esses dias. Nossa secretaria, toda a equipe técnica que trabalhou aqui com a gente. Calma, já estou terminando. Todos os sócios que apareceram aqui, quem não for sócio e está conhecendo aqui a ABC através da Semana ABC, juntem-se a gente aí. Entrem no nosso site lá para se cadastrar, para ser associado. Realmente é mais gostoso quando a gente faz as coisas juntos, né? Quanto mais gente a gente consegue, é mais bacana. A gente vai começar agora nessa nossa última mesa, que é a mesa apresentação das AIS, a criação do quadro, uma discussão sobre escolha de lentes na cinematografia. Então, uma boa mesa para vocês, acho que vai ser bem bacana, e até a semana do ano que vem, os trabalhos já começam a partir de amanhã. Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Marcelo. Hello, my name is Snehal Patel. I am here from Carl Zeiss. My territory is the Americas, North and South America. Unfortunately, I don't speak Portuguese, so we will have this conversation in English, but I will make sure to talk a little slow so everyone can follow.
You don't need to.
I don't need to?
No.
Well, I'm going to talk really fast then. Let's get to it. Great.
No, they speak English.
Yeah, no, that's true. Everyone does speak English, and that's wonderful that we have a universal language. But today we're going to be talking about the universal language of cinema. So if we can go to our slides, it is my pleasure to introduce the very talented Affonso Beato, ABC, ASC. Today I am coming representing Carl Zeiss. We are an old company that began in 1846, and we had our first photo optics division in the 1890s. For the last 80 years, since the introduction of the Aeroflex 35, we have been involved in cinema lenses with ARRI for the last 8 decades. And we currently sell 3 products, which are OEM, that means we manufacture, and ARRI sells. the Ultra Primes, Master Primes, and Master Anamorphics. We're very proud of our cinema history, and we have done many feature films, television shows, web content, phone content, anything you could possibly imagine has been made with our lenses. We make high quality products, but today we are going to talk about lenses in general, and also cameras, the combination, and then how Affonso does the work with this combination. And so we are not necessarily only going to talk about ZEISS. It might be about other manufacturers as well. These are all, for us, paintbrushes that the cinematographer uses, so it's their choice what lens they use. I cannot dictate it. So we are very pleased to say that, you know, we are very happy that all kinds of different lenses will be represented today, because today we're going to talk about the art of cinematography, and hopefully you will learn some nice information. One of the main things about lenses is that different lenses have different focal lengths. And I know that some filmmakers say, I can shoot a whole movie with one focal length. That's nice, but it's not realistic for every project. And most projects need multiple focal lengths of lenses, and focal lengths of lenses are determined by mathematical equations. And therefore, by using different focal lengths of lenses or different techniques, distance from the actor, things like that, you can tell 4 different stories, for example. In the first picture, the teacher is bothered by all of her students, you know, in the 15mm lens. 35mm lens, she's now in charge of the class. 85mm lens, you know, you're in love with teacher. And a 150mm lens, you want to interview her because she's a suspect. So it's always, you know, when you're creating the frame, telling your story, you're picking exactly what you're doing. So today's conversation is going to be some explanation with examples from Affonso's work. And that way you'll get to actually see, you know, how he does it, and he'll explain to you what the techniques were. So Affonso has been around in the industry here in Brazil, and also in mainly Los Angeles in the United States for many years. And he moved to the United States in 1969. He was born in 1941. He won't tell you that, but I will.
Whoa.
Photographed his first short film in 1965. So I think that Affonso has very good experience and can really tell us many different techniques from a variety of films. So what we've done today is choose from a wide range, from an older film to a newer one, and all feature films. The reason feature films, I think, is because you have more time to shoot feature films than television. So, yes, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. First of all, let's give him a hand, because it's, you know, very nice guy to invite me and to put this together. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
I don't want these things to be about me, although he's talking about. I have 2 surprises for you.
Uh-oh.
Well, the first surprise is I don't understand anything about lenses.
Okay,
So-
I have to leave now. then.
No need to leave tonight, because I need to have. The second surprise, I want to invite a friend, and it's a surprise guest, which is a person who I think really understands a lot about lens. It's Marcelo Trotta, the actor president. It's a surprise for him also, but he really knows about the stuff. So, you know, we're going to share that. You know,
wonderful.
let's do it very informally. And I think it's a good idea for him to have some clips that we should base in something visual instead of only blah, 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 right? But, so why don't we start with that? So,
Yeah,
you know,
let's do it.
Let's start the conversation about something real. I mean, you know, something that was done already.
Great. Well, how about we start with All About My Mother, which
Okay,
was an
let's do
award-winning film, Todo Sobre Mi Madre, which won a lot of awards, shot here in Brazil.
No,
And
no, it's Spain.
I'm sorry. Shot there in Spain. But it looks like Brazil, some parts of it.
No?
Oh, no. None of it. Wow, I couldn't be more wrong today. So how
Lots
about
of
I shut up and we play the
surprise.
clip? Let's just play the clip.
Lots of surprise. Can you, você pode desligar a luz, por favor?
Obrigado. Got it right. Audio?
So, just a second.
Uno de todo lo que pillas es ser monja de clausura.
Pues sí.
Alfonso 12:30.
Vámonos, déjalo ya. ¡Esteban! ¡Esteban!
Por favor, hijo mío, hijo mío, hijo mío, hijo mío, hijo mío.
Okay. Wow. So
No, let me talk.
that was the death of one of the the death of the son, and the mom is the main character in the film.
Okay, but before, let's talk about one thing here. You know, he got the clips that he could have,
Right.
but you see the quality. You know, it's not what it was. You know, but this movie was shot in film, CinemaScope, right? And but we just got these clips just to start talking about, right? And but this is not even a CinemaScope frame, right?
Correct. It's been chopped to
But
16:9.
let's start talking, you know, and before we talk about lens, you know, we're gonna do that, and but we should maintain the center of conversation on that, and then maybe you have lots of questions about. I want to talk about something first. It's very important. I teach cinematography now, and I have try to organize my thoughts and what how I worked before and what I know there now after more than 50 years doing feature films. And it's what we call the shot. Everybody likes to shoot. Oh, let's shoot this, let's shoot that, but you should think about what the shot means. In Portuguese, we call o plano, right? And there is a big difference between the shot or plano and the frame and the choosing of lens or anything else. Okay, this is very important for me because the shot, and there are theories about that. There is a guy, a Hungarian theorist called Bela Balázs that actually wrote a book about that, and it was very important for us that people start creating theories about things, so you think about what you're doing. You not just go and do it, because if you don't know, there are other people have thought about that, have done about that, you're going to end up reinventing the wheel, So theories are very important for me, at least. I like to have a theory. Why are we doing that? Why we do that? So the shot is an element, it's really the most important element because you are translating something that's verbal, that's written in a piece of paper called the script, right? That got to be interpreted with the vision of a director most of the time. We're talking about the cinematographer's point of view, but I think for the directors, and I bet, who is in the directing track here?
Which one of you?
Only cinematographers here. Who wants to be a director here? Oh, 3. Okay. Okay, great. Who wants to be cinematographers?
Oh, many.
Whoa. And who wants to do the best thing in filmmaking, which is watching movies? Hey. Okay. So
in this particular clip,
yeah,
here you had to serve the story.
Yeah.
So you made the cameraman roll on the ground. It looks like. Is this the case?
Okay. So
why did you do that?
Coming back to the shot, So the most important thing is not the frame or the composition or the lens or anything. It's to you to understand with the director what you're going to do. Because sometimes you can have a great frame and don't have the shot. And I'm not going to mention names, but I had an incredible operator that there was an incredible guy. He would fight for a good frame, a good composition, and he was really a master on that. But he kept asking me, well, how about put the camera there? We have a great composition. They say, yes, we have a good composition, but we don't have the shot. You know, the shot serves the storytelling. Is the most important element in the storytelling. And of course, you have many shots, or maybe you have a shot that composes. You're going to see something that we've done here that's, very complex operation, but we have the shots in the end. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is very important to do. So you need to find the shot. The shot is then a frame that contains the information that's written on the script. And if you think about this transmission of information from a verbal language to an audio-visual language, you start to understand then what the shot is. You know what I'm saying? And then when you talk about composition and framing, you're going to see that maybe if you frame, have lots of red room here, there's no information here. There's air, like we say. This is not a good shot because we're missing information. I could put more information because maybe the shot's like this, not like this. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is very important for understanding to begin with, right? So here he's asking me how we did that and stuff like that. I don't think it's very important, and what was important here, and actually was a surprise to me, because, some directors have something very together, like we call the shot list, and Pedro Almodóvar, it's incredible preparations. We do incredible preparations, and this was, I think, my third film with him, and this was a surprise for me. Not the way the camera, but at some point he said, Affonso, we need to shoot with more frames here. This film, but I'm in Madrid with some kind of illumination, and maybe we are shooting like 2:8 or something. These are primo anamorphic Panavision lenses, and primo anamorphic lenses are huge lenses, big lens. They are incredible. They are like 1.4 or something like, right? I don't remember. But anyway, and you're not going to see the primo anamorphic lens here, because you cannot do with that lens. You're going to destroy the whole camera and lens. But so we got other lenses. We put what you call the E series in Panavision. So, and we put the camera operator was an incredible guy, and he threw himself against a car. That's not in really movement. It's like we pushing the car. The guy, jump against the window. He breaks the window, right, and falls down, and he rolls to get something. And then we discuss all these things. But then the last minute, Almodóvar said, we need to shoot 100 frames per second. I said, what are you talking about? Because there are like 2 stops more. And because I'm accelerating the camera, so I needed to quadruplicate the light that I had. So I need to call people and say, bring stuff, and we start relight. It was a nightmare. Wow. But with the rain and stuff like that.
And I mean, there was a ramp at the end.
Yeah, there's a ramp, yeah.
So it's like slowing down, almost like his body slowing down.
Yeah, no, you see that actually, we don't care. You see it's out of sync, but it's very dramatic because, the mother see her son die, and you see that she picks the head, right? The camera becomes the kid's head. And you don't see here, but when the camera falls down like that, You see a little bit of blood coming, you know. I mean, these are things that you see, you know, in cinema.
In the cinema with the proper screening, yeah. And Marcelo, when you saw this, you know, probably in the theater at that time,
Yeah.
to me, this was a very unique shot. I've never seen anyone lay down the camera sideways, and then, you know, when the mother comes up, I really felt like as the body was falling, I'm like, oh, this is the guy falling. This is his perspective. Have you seen something like that before?
Yeah, I think that what was like kind of shocking for me is that, you know, Almodovar, despite of the having like very, how do I call it, very wild kind of subjects on his first films. I mean, in some of the films, he keeps on sort of a classic style. I mean, this film is sort of a classic style.
Sort of 70s style.
When something
classic.
like this happens, it's really like a very different approach to a scene
Yeah.
on the whole of the feature film. So this is a very important thing when you know use like pics of, you know, different language in the film. And this was very interesting because what interests me the most is that when it stops and you don't know what is going on exactly, and then the face of the mother comes up. It's really great.
And another thing, don't think this stuff was done at one time. This cameraman, he threw himself like in the ground like 4 times or 5 times, and we need to change the windshield, parabrisa 4 times. I mean, these things, and you know, this is a time that was not easy. Visual effects, Pedro doesn't like to deal with visual effects and stuff like that. And
So you had to do it in camera.
no, we didn't have to camera. We are prepared to do that. You know, the camera operator was a wonderful job, and you know, actually this shot became more famous. Everybody loves to see this shot. For somehow it has a, but you know, the emotion that's behind this shot, it's like the guide of the film, right? Because the kid dies and the mother, you know, I don't know.
And that actually begins her journey. So it's really an important story point because she actually moves and then goes back to, you know, old friends and stuff and starts a new life over after this incident happens.
And I think the kid gives the organs to somebody else, right? Because Pedro is
Yeah, that's
really,
the story, right?
Yeah, the Pedro gets into more like that. But anyway, I think you show something very interesting that we should talk about. I'm going to say 2 things to try to inflammate some discussions here. And I'm sorry to say I'm going to piss some people off. Well, you know, we've been testing, you know, I'm in the university, we have lots of cameras, so, and I teach advanced cinematography. So we do that all the time. More the schools do that. You put lots of cameras together and you shoot the same subject, which is like a China gal, which is a gal with color charts, you know, all control lighting and stuff like that. And then you shoot a dynamic range chart with 21 stops to see how the cameras respond. So we shot with 3 cameras. I'm not going to say any brands, but top brands. 3 cameras, top. You elect the cameras that you think are the best, because I don't want to hurt the. Most of them are supporters, but and also not to get all the burden. Kees Van Ossen, the president of ASC, said the same thing when we are together here. Today, if you shoot the same thing and you go to a color bench, a color grading, you know, you can make the 3 cameras look the same. If you don't change it, you know, with the same lens, same light and stuff like that, by doing a little bit of science, you can make the pictures look the same. And so right now, for me, and I want to ask Marcelo and also ourselves, but we start the discussion. If you want a different image, what you have, it's a different lens, you know, because the lenses are, and lenses have personalities, and I think we should talk a little bit about that here, okay?
Yeah,
And
because you actually mentioned a very specific Primo lens set and an E series, because it's giving you a certain look that you're seeking for that film.
Yeah, and but I didn't use the E series in this movie. I shot with the Primo anamorphic. I just use a E series because it's a small lens. Right? That scene.
For that shot, yeah.
For that shot. But so I think we can talk about lens personality. And another thing that we should think about, and Snehal brought something with the frames of these gals with the different lenses, if you want to come back, which is the following. The human vision has some properties, and we cannot change them. And one of the properties is the fact that you have an incredible peripheral vision. If you do this, don't do that because you're going to hit somebody on the other side. But we see 180 degrees, but not all the time. You know, we don't use that all the time. When we talk to each other, when you watch a movie, when I look at him or look at him, I kind of close. Okay, and this angle, the angle, it's not the lens, it's around 30 degrees, the angle, this thing here. And mathematically, we use 28 degrees instead of 30. And what it means, okay? This is what you call the normal vision, because it's the human vision. Oh, you know, I want to see something close. I cannot change my eyes and put a telephoto and look closer, right? And I cannot use a white lens. I can change the lens on my face, in my brain, right? So we always see in one way. When we see one thing in one way, we have the same perspective, right? So things, you know, that are distant from each other, they are doing the same. Our entire life you're going to see. But what happened to cinematography with film is that, yes, we can change the lenses of the cameras, right? So we need to say that's very, seems to be very obvious, but you think you should, there is a moment that you got to deal with that. And now, you know, you have the normal lens, a normal lens for super 35 millimeters, like most of the camera, is like around 40 millimeters, 45, 46. If you have like a full frame camera, a normal becomes to be a 50 or a 55. If you have a camera like 65 millimeters or like the Aries 65, the normal lens is 105 millimeters. You know, so there's nothing to do with the millimeters. You know, the normal lens is the lens that has a relationship with the size of the frame. You know, and so there is a consequence. So if the lenses are wider than normal, we call wide lens. If they are closer, this angle is closer than normal, than 28 degrees, we call telephoto, right? So there are two things that we need to understand. One is the fact that this, when you change sides, you change perspective, and the lenses behave differently. We can talk artistically about that, and you see there. And the second thing is that each manufacturer does have the glass together, they put the lens together, and like he showed you, like a lens inside, it's a craziness. It has like 50 glasses inside or something like that, layers of glass. So they have different personalities, but in the end, if you make life simple, you want to give a name to that, you say a texture. They respond. So if we start with the premise that the sensors more or less are the same, I think it's very important to you to know about lenses.
I think that what's a really nice demonstration is these next two clips that we have. You have used the lens textures in very different ways.
Yeah. And that's one of the main choices, why you choose the lens and how. So the first thing is like, watch out. There, you know, here's eyes, there's Panavision, there's this, and there's that. Yeah, they're cook and there's stuff like that. It's very important to you to discuss and try to be sensitive for this. And for that, I call Marcelo, because he's the guy who knows.
I think
So
Marcelo
why not
should
to talk
guess.
about that,
I think you should guess what this next clip is. And
No.
then,
No.
Wanna
Let's,
play it- wanna play it?
no. Talk about this if you can.
Okay, just briefly.
Because you have a taste and you know about texture and stuff like that. And I know that he knows and he cares about that very carefully. He did a master class, a workshop about lenses.
Anamorphics, yeah.
Anamorphic lens.
Yeah, I think that just to like open more the conversation, I think that there are three things on lens choices that are very important. One is this one that we were talking about, that is like wide angles, telephotos, and all that. And if you see like emblematic DPs and directors, how they use this, it's very interesting because it takes us to several different places. I mean, if you talk wide angle, you can talk about Terry Gilliam, or you can talk about
Lubelski, Chivo
Lubelski, or
Coen Brothers.
Huh?
Coen Brothers.
Coen Brothers.
Yeah, but I forgot the name. The guy that did Alice and I think the Fantastic Chocolate.
Oh, Lubelski.
No, Diretor.
Oh, the French guy.
No,
Chocolate
no.
Factory.
É.
Well, it's...
Alguém me ajuda? Diretor que Tim Burton.
Oh, Tim Burton, yeah.
If
Tim
you see
Burton.
like Tim Burton or Terry Gilliam,
Yeah.
they love to use wide angles.
Yeah.
And if you see their work, you're going to see that they have tons of money to do beautiful
Yes.
sets.
Production
as well.
design.
Yeah. So if you want to use like a 70 mil, a 10 mil inside a set, you better have a very well constructed set and all that. So those kind of artistic decisions depend on other stuff. The other thing is that is when you choose, different lenses in terms of construction and brands and all that. When I first started shooting, we had just few options. You had to choose among super speeds, standard 2.1s, or Cooke S4s that were just out. And now you have a whole myriad of different lenses and lots of choices in terms of texture and character. And the other thing is like very contemporary, is that if you use newer lenses or vintage lenses, or three aspects when you choose lenses that are
Yeah.
very important, right?
Yeah. And one thing that we need to pay attention to ZEISS is that ZEISS was there from the beginning. Like he shows the history of lens manufacturing and stuff like that. So if you think about lights, somehow there's a, ZEISS glass behind it, and then everything, the super speeds and stuff like that. I grew up in Brazil with ZEISS lens, and then into the ZEISS lens you have different things, and they're somehow they're different, and you need to have a trained eye to think these little differences that they have, but they really count, because it's a subliminal thing that passes to you. Like my first digital and last, perhaps, digital work that I've done, it was an F-65. I shot a Brazilian movie called O Tempo e o Vento, The Time and the Wind. And, was something in Rio Grande do Sul, big lawn hills, and the green and the texture of the green and the precision, the definition of it was very important for us. And I used master primes, and I knew that I would have the job. And if you watch it, and you see in the horizon, we have big problems because we shot in Bagé, in the Pampas, and we couldn't see with our eyes, and we shot like a landscape and stuff like that, and you see a grama, the lawn, the definitions. But then when we blew up, we see a fence there. And the movie was 1750s, there was no fences there. And also we see it in the horizon that has eucalyptus trees. We couldn't see it with our eyes. The lenses were getting, the camera was getting, because the lenses are objective, and sometimes you don't see these things, and they are there, and we need to go and take them out, erase, stuff like that. So that's the power of a master primes lens. If you want to see everything, master primes, right? Right? You agree with that?
Yeah. And I think that there's something that is funny because it all depends on what is in front of the camera and what is behind the camera as well. And people sometimes say that master primes are like too clean or
Too clinical.
or too clinic or something like that. But then I ask, what are your favorite American DPs these days? And everybody says Emmanuel Lubezki and Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
And these guys should be master primes and sometimes period pieces. Tree of Life is a period piece, as well as A Serious Man. Coen Brothers, A Serious Man.
That's right.
Or The Man Who Knew Too Much. Those are,
Too Much, yeah.
you know, period pieces that were shot with very modern lenses. I mean, it depends on how you learn how to use them as well. So
Yeah. And then when does that thinking come in? Like, let's say you're forming a texture, right? So you're forming it, and you mentioned also with filters and what's behind the lens, which is the camera choice and the lens itself. When does that come into your mind? Is that when you're reading the script that you start thinking, this is the texture that I see, maybe this project needs this lens? Or do you wait until you do a camera test to figure it out? When does it come into play for you?
You know, for me, I think I know, or, you know, I learned to discern between the difference. I use as a tool of design, you know what I mean? And like you're gonna show a clip, and I want a really harsh movie, a harsh look for it, because although it's something done in New Orleans, you're not gonna see here the beauty of the city or anything. It was about something that's like obscure. There was like corruption in the police department in New Orleans and stuff like that. And another thing is that I think it's very important that Marcelo started. You know, I'm crazy about definition, not resolution. Resolution is what the sensor gives to you, right? The sensor, the resolution is something that is installed in the camera. You cannot change it. I mean, you change it if you do things in that. But your camera has 4K, you cannot shoot at 8K because it isn't there. But now definition is something that's given by the optical device that's in front of the sensor, right? So definition, actually, you know, you also anything can bring down definition. If you put a greasy finger in the back of a lens and you have a master prime, the definition is going to go down, you know? But resolution never changes, but definition changes with that. I like to start with a lot of definition and then bring it down. Because if you don't have a definition, you cannot bring them up. You know what I'm saying? So I do the same thing with color. I rather have color desaturated than don't have any color and try to pump in the color grade that you don't have. So this is the way artistically I have an approach for it. But I think fighting for definition and understand what definition. And then there are lots of tricks that you can do. You can put filters, you can put silks, stuff behind the lens, in front of the lens, promises. You probably know about, you know, and you can bring down definition, stuff like right now. Actually, there is something very beautiful on television. It's our colleague and ex-president Walter Carvalho. He's shooting this series for Globo that goes really late on the night, but it was amazing to see the first episode. It's called Onde Nasceram os Bravos, uma coisa assim. Onde Nascem os Bravos. And it's incredible, but you see that, you know, when something is kind of darkish, you have lots of, you know, definition and focus, right? But then when there are lots of lights and it's shot in the northeast and the stuff explodes out of the door, he puts a filter, maybe it's a pro mist or stuff like that go, wow, you know, the whites. So he creates the texture. But he starts with a good lens. He starts, you know, a good camera, of course, you know, but he starts with a good lens and he starts with the definition, then he brings down. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
But how about, what do you
about you?
think?
yeah, and I think that. Sorry, I want to talk.
Yeah.
No, the thing is that I think that ZEISS and RA, when they do things together, they pretty much have that approach. that we can
Yeah.
see, for example, at the flare sets of the master anamorphics, right? I mean,
Right.
you started with a master anamorphic, full clean, and if you want to have flare sets, you can try to just put on the back, on the front, or both, and you
Yeah.
can get whatever you want. And this is something that also, takes us for another thing that has to do with the historic moment that we're living, because I see many people like using lenses that have less definition to begin with,
Yeah.
just like break the clinical side of the digital sensors.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
big push for vintage glass,
Yeah.
lenses with built-in looks to them.
Yeah.
And
But
that-
of course, you can't, you can't take it away. Like,
Yeah.
Affonso was saying, it's
And,
there.
and I ask, do we want to mimic this look of the film days and all that, or maybe we should try to get to another different look? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Why not?
But one thing is like, it was a good example. Like if you vintage lens, right? I mean, you have a set of lenses, and you go into a movie with this set of lenses, and if you change your mind, right? You cannot, you got to change the set of lens,
Right.
because that look's not going to go back to anywhere. Because the lens flare, you don't want flare, and the lens flare, forget it, because you're not going to take the flare out. But people now likes flare, or, like do this and that. But what they're doing, they're using the different lenses as a tool of design. You design, the cinematography or the image that you want to do. It's something that would contribute to the storytelling, or to create periods, or to create cleanness, or whatever, But yes, I mean, the best lenses for me are the ones that start with something clean. That's my thing. But there's nothing wrong to you to go and look for vintage lenses, stuff like that. But what's important is to us to know they're extremely different. You know what I'm saying?
I think that what we can do is we can show
Yeah,
two
sure.
clips back to back. We're going to show the Big Easy and Ghost World back to back. They're two dynamically different looking, so that way we could discuss between the two. So can we have
But
the lights, please?
I'm sorry about the quality of the clips, because they're just a reference. Você pode apagar a luz, por favor, Sandro, ou Valmir?
Obrigado. I am?
Yes.
Yes. That was my goal.
Well, you got a friend in Mexican customs, don't you?
Got that right.
What happened once you find out about Freddie Angelo's heroin deal? Decided to rip him off, go into business for yourself?
It was a good idea. We got a lot of scum off the street at very little cost to the taxpayers.
Somebody shot my brother, Jack. You thought it was me. He was wearing my coat.
What? What, you think I had something to do with that? You don't like my own flesh and blood. I don't know what happened. Somebody panicked.
Who panicked? You behind this thing all the way from the beginning, weren't you, huh? Freddie Angelo and the Mexicans?
Yeah, and Carmen Tandino and the boys in Storyville.
Carl, Daddy mentioned.
Garbage.
Where's the heroin, Jack?
If I told you, you wouldn't believe it. Must be more than $5 million worth. It's a very big pie, and you're entitled to a fair slice. So why don't you take it? Walk away.
You taught me a lot when I first came on the job. What was okay, what wasn't okay. Dealing heroin okay, Jack? Murder okay?
I just wanted to go out a winner. 30 years. Your daddy never cared anything about that. All he wanted to do was chase the girls. And he caught the best one. I just want to spend the rest of my life with her. That's all.
Touch my money again, I'll kill you.
You can't talk to me that way.
He's gonna be all right.
Corporate slut. Sophisticated.
Come on, here we go.
Seymour, you have to lend me the money to buy this.
I don't really have a lot of money on me right now.
Come on, Seymour, please.
I don't want this showing up on a credit card statement. I'll get put on some weird mailing list and then it never stops. No, that's not the point.
Please. Give me all your money, bitch.
Where did you get that?
You'll never believe it. Guess.
Where?
Anthony's.
No way, when?
Just now, I went with Seymour.
You cunt.
Excuse me. I can't read the trivia question.
Where in the human body is the Douglas pouch located?
So, of course, two very dynamically different looking films, but I found a technique very similar between the two. You start off with the wider shot, follow the action. As things get more dramatic, it goes in for a tighter shot. So is this by design?
Yeah, it's by design, but it's something with the director and me and stuff like that. But about the lenses, I think it's a good point, because although, you know, these clips don't have any real definition and stuff like that, and you see detail here. But I just talk about the approach. You know, the big easy on this scene basically is like you have 5 pages, whatever, this thing takes time, I don't know. The whole scene in that park had, so it was something that you should shoot in 6 hours at least, you know, or like 12 hours. Right. And the one, that rain, it's not fake, it was rain, there was no light. And suddenly, you know, the lights start falling down, and to a point that you see the lights in the back go on, you know. And I knew that I was going to go in certain situations like that, and I want something really harsh. And the super speeds are great for that. They are really sharp, they are really contrasty, you know, but they give you, I don't know, they don't forgive, you know, forgive, which I say is about the skin tone and stuff like that. And they are a little harsh, you know, because they are crude, they are so punchy and stuff like that, but they're incredible lenses because they're, like the name says, super speed. You can count with exposure. And this movie doesn't have much money, and I just have like an HMI miles away that sometimes, you know, because and you see it, he shoots all around you know, the park and goes, you know. So I didn't have the time. I knew about that. You know, I have an overcast day and stuff like that. And I said, you know, good, because I keep open, you know. And, well, the other one, Ghost World, is totally different. And we're dealing with color saturation, and we're dealing with, you know, skin tone. You know, and then there's the gals that are getting out of high school and stuff like that. I don't know if you've seen this movie.
It's a great film.
But it's a pop movie, you know. It's about the problem of 2 gals, you know, young gals discovering the world. And it's kind of, you know, pop because that's what they're talking about, the logo marks, the brands, and, you know, the industry trying to brand them in reality, and they're fighting that. And anyway. But then, you know, the first one I used ZEISS, and this lens, this movie I shot with Cook lens. Because then, let's talk about that. You know, Cook lens are lenses, they're fantastic. It's not that the lens is not gonna give sharpness. They are sharp. But for me, and you can talk about that. It has something about what I give to forgive. For a skin tone, a Cook lens brings you more like film used to do it. The skins, become better. They become softer because there is like a roundness in this sharpness. I don't know if words can describe, what I see, but I see that, and I think many cameramen see that. We have many there. We can open for you to have your opinion. But I think Cook have, these combinations of being sharp but being sweet sharp. I don't know how to say that verbally. You got.
They have their own tone.
They have their own tone, and they have the transmission. And then there are other things that it's the focus, fallout, and stuff like that. Maybe you can.
Yeah, the Cooks, they're a bit warmer than these size lenses and all that. They have beautiful skin tones. They have some different characteristics. I mean, they have the blades are not round, so if you have like lights on the background, they're going to look like octagonal. So it's something that you have to decide if you want this kind of cinema code on it or not. Right. Because other lenses have like round blades, then the defocused lights are round, so it's looks more natural if you want. And but one thing that is interesting with the Cooks, I think, and I think the Masters have that as well, is something about three-dimensionality. It has to do with how the focus falls off. Is very apparent when you use it wide open, because when you have just a portion of a face of a person on focus, and then the way that the ears and all that become out of focus is something that gives a sensation of three-dimensionality. And as I study about that, it has to do also with construction and optical formula, and also about micro contrast, right? Yeah, and absolutely. I think that ZEISS is also very concerned about coding and all that to preserve this micro contrast, so you have this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, because you want anti-reflective coating, you want to get the best quality image you can. Because exactly like both of you said, you can always dial it back, especially in the digital age. You can really dial back things like contrast and stuff like that. But if you have a fat negative, if you have the information, it's always better. So lenses are always trying to push the information. Yeah. So in this particular film, in this Ghost World, is actually a black and white comic book. That's where it comes from. I read the comic book when I was young. I've read comic books all my life, and I actually read Ghost World, and I liked it a lot. But I have to say, you made it come alive. It feels comic book in a way, but it comes from a source that's black and white. So, how did you decide that, okay, I want it to be colorful and saturated? And when did you have that conversation with the director?
Yeah, the director, he's really a film buff. Mm-hmm. He done a movie before, I forgot about it, but it was about the guy who did this comic book. And I don't know if you can refresh my memory on that. But the director is a wonderful guy. He has collections of film posters and stuff like that. And, there's another thing, that we need to think about. There was a panel right now about production design, direção de arte, right? And you got to understand that light is invisible somehow, unless it hits something, right? Because you see, look, the source of light, it hits me, I'm alive. But between here and there, it's transparent, right? So light gonna hit something in front of the camera. Whatever a light hits in front of the camera, it's from the production design, right? And a film image is a triangle in which the director is in the top, the production design is here, the cinematography is here, and the script is in the middle. Mm-hmm. So we all serving the script with the vision of the director. I think the director has the prerogative of, see how it sees it, his authorship, it's how you see it. But of course, I keep saying there's no cinema without cinematography. So he cannot live without cinematographer, you know. And we cannot live also without production design. And then sometimes there is confusions about our choices and stuff like that. So when I learn, and at a certain point, people from my age can tell, you know, there was a moment that actually in the United States, I felt that there was a departmental separation. You know, I mean, the production design was a little arrogant, the cinematographer always arrogant, and the directors even more arrogant, and so, but then there's a moment that these things start changing, which was like the integration. You know, they understand that you cannot live without the other. You know what I mean? And I learned that really early because I was very arrogant. No, right now I don't know, but I was very arrogant and I would like to do things in my way, and you know, I hit walls, you know, and I learned a lot about the other way around, to be diplomatic and do the integration with these things. But so, you know, to respond to you, it's not only my choice here, you know, because the wardrobe I can't control, but we can talk about. You can say, look, let's avoid pure white, you know, because right now digital doesn't like the from screen tone above, you know, everything that's brighter, it's a little problem for digital, wasn't a problem for film.
Right.
You know, digital loves, you know, darkness or kind of anything below the skin tone, dark.
Middle gray.
Middle grays, digital cameras love that stuff. But they, you know, but if you start paint everything white and there, you got to have a problem with it. So you need to have integrations, you know, and the directors need to. Another thing is that I understand very fast is the most successful directors I work with, they have one thing in common. They listen, right? And I learned how to listen also. Because, you know, in the history of cinema and cinematography, you know, there is something very interesting that you got to understand. A cinematographer, let's say 50 years old, did 25 feature films, 30 feature films, more or less this thing like that. Same age director did much less than that. Yes. They do 15, they do 10, because it takes more time to you to put a film together, and that cinematography can go from a film to another, right? So, you know, we help each other, okay? So I can say certain things, and the director likes to listen to me or not, but I can bring it to him. Now, when I did 50 films, guess what my gaffer has done? He have done 200 films at the same age, you know, and he worked with 50 directors of photography or 30 directors of photography. Why am I not going to listen? You know what I'm saying? Right. So, I mean, information and solutions and stuff, you know, filmmaking is really working together. It's not being individualist, arrogant, and pretend that we're beginning of the century painters and stylists. We are not stylists. We are designers. We work based into a function which is the script. We need to serve the script. If you put together like Chivo, that right now is considered the best of the best right now, I don't know, you know. But Chivo has something that you should look. Look at Emmanuel Lubez's filmography. You don't see one movie like the other. Right. You can say Chivo is not bringing his style to filmmaking. He is serving the script, he's serving the director, he's serving the work, you know? And that I learned that with an Italian director of photography called Giuseppe Rotunno. Look at the Giuseppe Rotunno. You cannot tell this is a Rotunno movie because every movie is different than the other one. So, you know, all these things. So we need to listen, we keep on learning, and every day we learn something in this profession, because it's very complex, very beautiful, but it's all done together. It's not done alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I got into a speech.
No.
Sometimes I lose my mind.
It's quite all right. I have a quick question for Marcelo. Marcello or Marcelo? Am I saying?
We say Marcelo here.
But
it's-
he's
it
Italian.
technically is
Marcello.
Marcello. What my question was, in both of these scenes that we're taking a look at, there is very important thing going on with the blocking. It's doing a lot to serve the story. So how do you communicate to the actors? Because the actors need to know, like, how much of my face are you seeing? You know, where should I be? Or are you just saying, actors, you do what you do, and we will catch you the right way?
That this has to do with Affonso was saying. I mean, this interaction between the people and the main guys on the film, they determine a certain language. I mean, there are directors that want to do all the time, mostly television guys, and must do people, stop in the same place and like covering
Coverage everywhere.
And there are other directors when you can propose things like, I love the shot on the Big Easy, because it starts like a close shot. It's a tracking shot, right?
Yes.
Starts with a close-up, and then open up a little bit. When they get to the rocker, it's like a wide shot. You can see their full body and all that. So the mise-en-scène of the actors helps give different characteristics to the same lanes that is going on, right? So it depends a lot on the directors and the production designers that are working, right? And I really think that the terms, I mean, I have just this funny thing. I met Dan Mindel when he was here on the ASC masterclass, and I was starting to shoot a project on master anamorphics, and he asked me, are you shooting wide open? And I said, yeah, mostly wide open because of the background and all that. And he goes like, I prefer to shoot not wide open. I mean, I think that at 8, is when the things really pop on the set and all that. And I said, yeah, I know, because we're shooting the Millennium Falcon in the background, right? When I shoot the Millennium Falcon in the background, I don't want to defocus as well. So it depends on the production design that you have in front of you.
Exactly.
So if you have like a plain wall, you want to defocus it, right? So.
But talking to the actors, I mean, the cinematographer, to begin with, shouldn't be talking to the actors. It's the director that should be talking to the actors. And it's not really there. I have seen actors that are concerned. I mean, they love to have a close-up, of course. Where's my close-up, And but sometimes it's not the point. I think one thing I know, acting, it's the most difficult profession in the world. And we need to respect that. And so, like a cinematography point of view, I try to have myself and the crew very quiet. And as a matter of fact, I try to design with my gaffer and the director everything before, so we don't do much. Maybe there's a little shadow, a little light, something hits your nose, and we try to avoid that stuff. And we kind of humbly say, give him a little minute to change this and that, and they like that. But we don't need to interfere. We don't want to interfere. And acting is the most difficult profession in the world. And the second most important, more difficult thing in the world is the fox puller.
Especially when you make them shoot wide open.
Right now, I have here my assistant now is working with Keys One Nostro, and he complains all the time about Keys. Because Keys is on to shoot with 1.3 or stuff like that, and the guy, But the thing is the focus puller is like he does everything perfect. Nobody says thank you. You're getting paid to do that. Who the heck? But if
but the
for
day you
once,
don't do that,
if you 1 second, you have out of focus. Oh, you have out of focus. And everybody complains and stuff like that. It's horrible. Now. I mean, don't do it if you can't. Avoid doing that.
Don't be a first.
Go straight to be the director of photography, whatever.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm sorry to offend the present.
And this next clip, actually, I think there's a prize that you were saying that you're going to give $1 million if someone could figure out how you did this shot. So
Yeah,
in this particular one, it's
but
going to
it's about something
technique.
interesting. Let's see. I'm sorry again about the definition and the things, because he had a great work. I wasn't in LA together with him doing stuff, and he was a very busy guy, and he got anything from the internet,
I
right?
did.
So we don't have the originals and stuff like that.
So
But
don't tell anyone because we didn't get permission.
Yeah, but I wanted him to show this shot because actually it's an homage that I've done to Emanuel Lubelski. So
Very nice.
you'll see.
Let's roll this clip.
I want to see it because
I'll wait for you to start it.
Church bells tolling, I can hear saints are singing, I can see hearts will rolling, somebody's leaving.
Want to be my girlfriend? Sorry, but I want to marry Michael Jackson.
Darren, Lily, get in there and sit down.
That was a really epic shot, I have to say. I have no idea how he did that.
So
But that was a long take.
Some chocolates here to give to whoever discovered what.
Who wants to guess how he did it? Who wants to guess? Okay, you first, right there. You give us your guess. This is before drones, my friend. This is 2003. There was no drones.
That was very easy, man. Not even with
Okay, so drones, you're out. Pass the mic. Who's next? Who's got an idea?
Were you hanging from the helicopter?
Yes, well, yes, the helicopter pilot was very good. So he takes me out inside the church.
Into the
and then,
church,
and
and goes
turn
up
around and show back.
It was
right?
awesome. Anyone else?
Vai.
Yes.
Oh,
Who has an idea? Who has an idea? Raise your hand. Who has an idea? Okay.
Eu vou responder em português. Isso não é um plano sequência, é?
No, it's not. No,
Então
I don't even know what you
no,
said.
no,
I'm so sorry.
No,
totally messing with you. I have no idea
somehow
what you said.
is a plano sequence. You're right. It's just one shot, But how we did that, of course, I mean, from the point of view of a shot of a plano, it's just one thing. It's a plano sequência because, we start here and we go down and go around and stuff like that. But I'm talking about the first shot because then the music we didn't want to cut. There are other cuts in the end. But it's really about the design. But there's another friend there.
There's a person right next to you.
Helicóptero, uma grua, aí Steadicam, certeza.
Wrong.
Ooh. Oh.
But you are almost there. Hot.
Hot. Very close.
Very close.
Eu vou falar em português porque.
Fala.
Tinha algum tipo de guindaste que aí pousou você, aí amarrou e você entrou na igreja.
But the guindaste is flying over the trees?
Não, guindaste bem grandão, né?
Hã?
Um guindaste bem grande, talvez.
Life is not that easy.
There is a transition point, so this is a clue, right?
No, the transition point, I can even give money to you to tell me where it is. That's I can put money, but of course I'm gonna bet with you. You got to put your money also. Deixa eu ver. Which one?
Posso
Yes,
dar uma opinião?
please.
Eu também vou falar em português. Você fez vários cortes, mas depois juntou de um jeito que ficasse imperceptível.
Yeah.
Que foi são cortes sobrepostos,
Right.
É isso?
Yeah, it's called morph, right? At that time, because this is not digital, this is film, right?
Certo.
But of course, it's a visual effect, and you're right. I mean, I'm not going to keep on going because, but it's yeah,
She got it. It was a drone the whole time. No.
But to begin with, of it, that's what we're talking about, the shots, right? Because there is no, let's say, the importance is not frame and stuff like that, and although it is, because, there's lots of imperfection here that when I see, you got, but that's what you could do in the situation like that. But of course, the shot, it's more important than, the camera operation, or this and that. But I'm going to tell because I think I'm proud of that, and I really an inspiration of Emanuel Lubezki. You remember a movie called Gaiola das Loucas? How is this in English?
The Birdcage, right?
The Birdcage, yes.
In the Birdcage, if you see, you should see, because it's a great movie, great comedy. There is an helicopter shot that comes in Miami. That stuff takes place. And there is Miami Beach. And the helicopter comes into like in dusk. There's no sun anymore. And it comes and you see, it's pure sea. And you start seeing there is a city there and you're going to go close. And then you see it's Miami. And the helicopter keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going. And you see there is like a film, like a theater. And the cameras keep on going, go inside the theater and stuff like that, and go to the camarins, os camarins, I don't know what in English, and the movie starts, and you keep say, what the heck? I mean, what's going on here, right? I mean, and this is what I call design, and this thing I design, because this is another thing. Did we saw the name of the director? I hope not. But directors have different personalities and formations. Sometimes you can get a director that has visual intelligence, and there are directors that don't. That's not a problem, because you can talk, maybe you hire for that, but there are directors who have only textual or drama. People are different, right? So, and stuff like that. So, Jonathan gave me lots of freedom and say how we do this introduction, and he gave me like a poetical thing, I want the music start coming and stuff like that. And when I saw the church, and I fly, And I love to see things from the top, and I say, whoa, let me get the homage to Chivo here, you know. So my proposition was like this shot, something that goes inside, like being guided by the music. The music attracts the image, you know, and we start the movie, you know. Yeah. So yes, there's an helicopter shot that takes to you to some point, but that's not how you can do it. You know, we need to study there. So I call the helicopters pilots, and you know, there's a man that's a friend that owns the Space Can. This guy is great. You know, most of great helicopter shots that you know, this guy is doing. Probably he's out of business now with the drones. But at that time I call, we start design, and with the pilot I said, how low can you go in relation to that tall tree? You see, remember there's a huge tree there in front of the church, even higher than the church perhaps, right? And then he said, well, I can come safely, you know, securely, like up to this point. So I said, okay. So there is a crane called, what do you call, Aquila? Aquila, you know, here we have in Brazil, I think TV Globo owns one, but it's a huge crane. It's not a techno crane. It's much more than that. It has 170 feet, something, right? It's more like it's the double of the techno crane. So I know that the helicopter can be there, so I need to put a camera there. So this is the real church, because there is another trick there that I'll show you after. Yeah, over here. Can you hold it there for a second? So it's there because the morph point is around here. It's where the helicopter can come. Say I said, let me shoot the crane first, you know, because I need the second movement is a very precise movement, and I have to do with kids and stuff like that, you know. I cannot come very close to kids in helicopters because, you know, there are accidents in LA about this and stuff like that. We are very concerned when there are kids and stuff like that. So let me shoot this thing that comes close to the kids first. So in the Saturday, I shot another thing, weather. You know, these things can change the hours. So what time we shot? We shot like 11:15. The helicopter shot got to be at 11:15 because the sun is the same position, the shadows, everything counts. And you cannot shoot something like that. One day is cloudy, another day is sunny, right? So we went colors at sunny day, the other day, you know, weather forecast. Oh, tomorrow is going to be nice, so let's do it. You know, helicopters there. We knew ahead of the time the weather going to be dewy. They brought the helicopters from Texas. These things got a long time to build, so they start building the helicopter on the Saturday afternoon. But then we got together because the helicopter pilot told me, I need a reference, you know, and these guys, the post-production, visual effects guys say, there is something we can do. We can put 2 laser beams. You know, so we put metallic plates on the crane where the camera is going to be, and we point lasers to this. So you see the reflection on the metallic plates. And then, you know, this reference was the reference for the pilot, because the pilot told me, in my field of view, when I'm here, pilot, you know, when I feel the 2 laser beams, you know, I'm in the point, I'm the same point that the camera was before. You know what I'm saying? So, and of course we need to use the same lenses in the 3 shots. So we did that. These guys are incredible. You know, the guy said, let me go to the point. Second day, we shot Saturday, blah, 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 blah. The other day we start in the morning, put the camera, helicopter, hours, say, we got to be there at 11:15. The guy said, no problem. So we got there, he came to the point, and, you know, he felt the 2 lights. So what we have 2 axes, you know, he's in the same place of the camera. So when he felt it too lazy, he said, I'm ready, let's start shooting. So we went back miles, and came with the helicopter because we timed the music, everything, And the guy came, and the first time he came, he hit the mark. Oof. No, these guys are incredible. They're, war pilots, SEAL, these guys, they know what they're doing. It's a very dangerous thing because it's very close to the trees, right? So the guy hit the mark, the first shot. But of course, let's do it again, let's do it again. We did like 10 times. We used the first shot. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That deserves a hand.
Okay.
Nice work on the whole team.
These are for the pilots.
The pilots.
Right? The pilot, good pilot.
Wow.
Okay, but the trick is now the camera, for the second part, they come to the kids, right? And then you see there's a woman who comes there and say, hey, let's come inside the church because, it's starting. Get inside, right? So the camera keeps on going, okay? There's news for you. When you go inside the church, it's not the same church, okay? It's a stage that we built because, most of the half of these movies inside that, because it's about gospel, the music, stuff like that. And so then, production design reproduce the veranda exactly like the church was. And inside of this church, this church here has nothing to do with the other church because we couldn't shoot in that smaller church, So we built this thing in the stage. But now, I'm with the kids there. I put the kids again there just to have the information for the camera. And then I put a techno crane. Techno crane is a crane that's retractable. The arm goes out. It's a really small like that. But
we have one here on the.
Yeah.
We have one outside the lawn.
The lawn, yeah. So the arms keep on going up, right? So it acts like, that's why a person said, oh, you were in the Steadicam with something. No, this is all crane. But what happened is I wanted to show off and I wanted to try, to dare. And I'm telling you, every time that you dare, it's good for you. Just don't fuck up. But whatever. I'm sorry about my French. So we built this, and of course the crane, even 30 feet, it wouldn't go there. So we have some tracks for the crane, and the arm keeps on going. When the arm came to a certain point, the machinistas or the grips start putting tracks in front of it, and they're pushing. People are going under the camera and put. So we're going to go, and the arm goes in the top of the church like that and turns around. You know what I mean? So that's the build of the shot. The third shot took us maybe 4 hours, or
Right.
And also the complication is that we are dealing with like 30 singers and stuff like that. Of course, this is playback and stuff like that, but look how many people are dressed and
Right.
And stuff
Lots of
like
extras.
that. So this is really that I was talking about. You cannot do it alone. You need talent everywhere. You have good grips. Everybody counts in filmmaking. You know what I mean? Everybody can contribute and should be proud of it. You shouldn't take us for us. This is like really a crew, a crew. But my point is this is design. It's not something that you're going to get inspired. Oh, let me do that. I have an idea. And I bring me an helicopter. You don't. These things take weeks and talks and, and budgeting and stuff like that. But this was designed months before we shot, and you can't do the other way around, right?
Because people are going to be asking you, it's going to work, right, Affonso?
No, but this is another thing, I had an idea, but I forgot.
Marcello, like, you're looking at this and it's reminiscent of other movies that have continuous takes, long takes. What was different about this one to you?
I have done some one-shot scenes, and it's always difficult with the fluence of things, because you ended up in a sort of a trap of the technical thing that you're trying to accomplish to make it work. And sometimes the actors are not doing a good fluence, and you're not seeing it.
Right.
So it's very common that they get too long and ended up being cut on the edit room or something like that. And what I see in this shot is that incredibly fluent, the musical. I mean,
yes,
it's all with the music and the way the music starts and then stops for the kids to talk and all that. It's so precisely done that it's very fluent. I mean, you go with the flow with it.
That's one. I think one of the most interesting parts about this shot was when the kids walked in with the woman into the church, and now we're finding out it's two different buildings, exterior and interior. Like, wow, what coordination! What great acting, actually. Nice wrangling of the extras. Very good team effort.
Everything has to work perfectly for a shot like this to work, right?
Now, you mentioned something really interesting. You talk about sometimes you get caught up in the technique, and you get caught up in this whole thing. I'm going to create this kind of thing, but doesn't necessarily serve the story. And we've all seen films where they try to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people use anamorphic lenses just because they think it looks good, but then you're noticing the flaws really badly because it's like a well-lit scene and you're really seeing the distortion and flaring's kind of taking you out of the picture. Does that happen to you? Do you learn over the years like how to avoid doing that and then stick more to the story?
Yeah, I think that this is very common in advertising, for example, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to use all the tricks for selling products that are just not the case, right?
Right.
But when you are on to fiction films and all that, I mean, I think you end up learning, and when I choose, I always do tests when I shoot feature films, and I always have like one set of lenses that I think that is going to work for this film, but I always shoot other sets as well just to confirm that this kind of look, because then you put like an actor with makeup and all that, and then you're able to kind of confirm your choices, right?
Yeah. Well, you see, I mean, I love anamorphic. I love CinemaScope because the kind of 2:1, it's 235 or 240 for one. It's like the human vision. We see something like that. We have two eyes, and we have. So I always loved that. Since a kid, when I saw the first Panavision, they used to call Panavision because actually Panavision designed the first anamorphic lens. Am I right? Yes. I mean, because actually there was a confusion. O manto sagrado, the robe, I think is the first Panavision. And
they had to design the lens for the projection as well.
Yeah, and then the projectors have the same lens because anamorphic squeezes analogically the image, and then you need to unsqueeze that. Now digitally you press a button, the camera does everything. But before, it would be unsqueezed only on the projector. Of course, in the edit room, Panavision had heads that you could unsqueeze the image that were squeezed inside the camera, inside the frame, right? But I always in love with that stuff and the out of focus of anamorphic lenses. Very beautiful, but everything that you choose and you design, you have trades, and you got to be very careful, because anamorphic lens create other problems, shallow focus and stuff like that, and sometimes there are too much movements. You're going to create so much complication for the other department that doesn't pay to you to go there. So this movie is like it's a Panavision or CinemaScope format, but it's shot with spherical lens. They're not anamorphic. I don't know if we want to go into that. I mean, do you know a difference between anamorphic and spherical? I think most of it, we don't need to do that.
Well, I think that we could mention that because of that reason, you don't have distortion at the corners.
Yeah.
You don't have any weird aberrations.
Yeah.
Everyone looks straight
Yeah.
and perfect.
Yeah, anamorphic lenses are very complex lenses in terms of building an anamorphic lens, because they need to squeeze something optically, and also you got to have the unsqueezed size of that. That was not done digitally. Everything was analog, physically. You know, they dealing with the rays of light. They come in as nature. Right, so it's very difficult. You know, optics are. That's why optics are so expensive, because the engineering of these things, and the quality of the glass and stuff like that. You know, and then you know, sometimes you want to work, with a brand. You're gonna pay for that, because and they cost money. Say, oh, why ZEISS cost so much? Because they're so good. You need that. And I grew up wanted to put my work in big screens. I'm fascinated with projection. And now in Brazil, I think the digital projection, brought another quality. But Laura is here. I see cameramen that are colleagues that are we grow up suffering because we didn't very good projection in Brazil, and I'm telling you the truth. I saw what I was capable of when I went away from this, the kind. I don't say that you should go away, but when I went and I saw the first thing that I saw with a Mitchell camera, and I processed in the lab, and I saw a standard projection, a good projection outside, I cried for the first time. I was 30 years old, and I said, oh my God, that's what I was doing, I'm not seeing, and I think this is also, and that's what it is about, I don't know. It's about fight quality, and I personally want to see it big. I don't know. Today there are generations, and you have ways, and some people are pleased to see small thing. I don't. I want to see it big. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, now we have a thing with this, because you don't know where a film is going to be aired, actually, these days. So, before you knew that I'm going to do a feature film, eventually it's going to end up in the television as well, but, my major master has to be a well-defined picture that goes to the theaters. And these days, you're doing a TV series, and then someone say, oh, yeah, we're going to show the first 2 episodes on a theater and all that.
You're like, wait a minute.
So, yeah.
I need a frame for that.
Yeah, you should be prepared to be big, and be precise, because that's one of the builds of it. You
never know.
But I don't. Do you need to show anything else? No.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have time, Carlo.
We have time?
Yes.
Excellent. This next 2 clips we're going to show from a movie called View from the Top, which is a very enjoyable film, actually. It's a lot of fun. It's a drama. I want you to pay attention to both of these clips in the terms of what kind of focal length and framing is being used, and we're going to be discussing that. Okay? Oops, sorry.
Lights, please.
Lights,
Luz,
please.
por favor. Obrigado.
Oops, sorry. I turned off the audio. It's my bad. There we go. Ready?
Donna, why do you want to be a stewardess?
Well, for all the travel opportunities and for the excitement.
We're a budget airline. We fly from Laughlin to Fresno.
Once a week to Bakersfield.
We got 5 planes. We fly gamblers and drunks.
Right. Well, I want to provide those gamblers and drunks with the best service in the sky.
You're gonna love the uniform. Our motto is big hair, short skirts, and service with a smile.
Sir, please fasten your seatbelt.
You nervous?
I'm Sherry. Donna, welcome to Sierra.
Now, as much as you can today, sweetie, just stick by me. I hear we're full, but it's a piece of cake.
The overhead bins are closed and the cabin is secure.
Good job. I'll do the safety. You go tell the captain we're ready.
Okay.
Welcome aboard Sierra Airlines, Flight 312 to Fresno. There are 3 emergency exits.
Captain, we are... Captain? Is he all right?
Don't worry about him. Yeah, he'll be fine. I'll poke him with a stick and he'll get at it. If not, I'll give him his blankie and take matters into my own hands. Steve Bench. Call me co-pilot, Steve.
I'm Donna.
Oh, thanks, Donna.
Come on over here, Justin.
Okay, who's next?
Grandma.
It's from me and Ted.
What?
She can't hear very well. It's from Donna and me.
Thank you, dear. So excited. What is it?
It's an all-in-one remote control. Oh. Now you don't have to fuss with all those gadgets anymore.
Thank you, dear. Oh, Mary.
Yay. No, don't need it.
So in these 2 clips that we saw, the reason that I mentioned framing, especially in the first clip over here, you know, this is where you see the difference in focal lengths. With the boss that's doing the hiring, it's wider lenses. You're seeing a lot more depth of field. You're seeing all the production design, all the things that are coming down around him, the paperwork and everything. But then when it goes to Gwyneth Paltrow, it's a longer lens. It's pretty, shallow depth of field, make her look straight, skinny, and neat, because she's trying to get a job where she has to be straight, skinny, and neat.
Yeah.
So when are those choices made? When do you talk about that?
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's a good question. You know, you don't see like that, right? You need to change lens, choose for something that you're doing. In this case, what do you call this? Not beauty shots.
Cosmetic.
Glamour and stuff like that. You know, this gal, or, you know, this actress, they kind of demanded that. I mean, this is a pop movie. This is a comedy, you know, it's kind of trying to be funny. And you know, I have this responsibility of, you know, keeping Gwyneth this way, stuff like that. And the producers are there all the time because actually this movie was produced by Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, okay.
And somehow this gal was her, we call it like the, what's the name of it? Weinstein princess. Because Gwyneth had got an Academy Award before for Shakespeare in Love and stuff like that. So, you know, the producers are there and, you know, skin, tone, you know, she had a makeup woman that would look in the viewfinder and say, oh, no, it's good, you know.
Whoa, okay.
No, it's an incredible control. So what you do, you know, one thing you want not to distort them, and the first thing that you don't want to distort is to go to a telephoto, you know, telephoto-ish. Even a normal lens, if you shoot me with a normal lens, I have a big nose, but it would become bigger. Because from normal to wide lenses, everything you have more roundness. You know, the sense of stereo start to get in. And you start getting distortions, because if I shoot with a wide lens and I shoot from above, my forehead gets bigger and my chin gets smaller. If I do the other way around, things got to distortion the way you see. So when you have a telephoto, you have this sense of portrait, you know, and you separate a little bit more from the depth, you pay more attention for the subject and stuff like that. Everything has distortion, line distortion with that. Well, but this is a cliche, but you use it. And this movie has something that, this is just an anecdote, because we are shooting in the lake, and we need to shoot in the boat in the middle of a lake, a small motorboat. And it was Gwyneth and the guy, and we need to bring power for the lights and stuff like that in the boat, and the light in the generator boat wouldn't come. And the producer said, what are you going to do? I said, no problem. I turned the boat to the sun or backlight, and I had Mark Ruffalo, and I shot just with a bounce. The light, the sun hit the bounce, I bounced. The guy looks good and stuff like that. So we had lunch, we shot all the lines of this guy. It was a conversation between. And then after lunch, the electricity came to the boat. I can put a light, and I turn the boat, and I light Gwyneth Paltrow. And the producer came to me and said, wait a second. In the morning, you turn the boat, put a, bounce light, there's no light, you shot with the sun. Now you have, Gwyneth, why don't you turn the boat and do the same? And he said, so which kind of light is that? I said, political lighting. Because you cannot shoot there without light. You're firing. You know what I mean? These things that you got to deal with, But, that was the worst thing that I ever lived. Dealing with the personalities, protected by producers and stuff like that. And it's horrible. You think I'm very proud of it. No, no. And the complement of that, or the most, what do you call that? Different. He was shooting with Helen Mirren in the Queen. What was that? I'm shooting and I'm lighting a little bit the scene, and I see Gwyneth Paltrow. I see Helen Mirren sitting in the little chair, waiting to me to light, reading a little book. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't have a trailer. The English, they don't have trailers. They have some stuff like that. But for this movie, Helen Mirren, she got an Academy Award for this movie. And she's very humble, very nice with everybody, to the crew. Gwyneth Paltrow, I did a calculation. She was getting for this movie $17,000 per hour. Wow. And we couldn't get her out of her trailer. And we have Ellen Mirren sitting, reading a little book. I said, Ellen, it's ready. And she, okay, the different worlds. Huh?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we're talking about the Queen also. And Marcelo, this was my observation. You tell me what you think. But we're looking at a scene right now behind us, which is we're at the Queen's palace, right? Mm-hmm. And I know a little secret about this, so maybe you can also figure it out. But this is a scene later on where Tony Blair, the Prime Minister, is talking from his house, and it's way different in tone, the way that it's shot, even the movement of the camera, than the phone conversation on the other end with the Queen. Mm-hmm. So how do you separate the two? What techniques do you use to separate the two images from one another?
Yeah, this is the kind of subliminal thing that leads to a subjective comprehension of the scene, right? When we see the Queen, you gotta see some sort of tradition. This is the clash of the Britons, right? Yeah. They have this clash of tradition and
modern day.
In modern day, so all the colors are darker. The movement is like fluid, right? There's no surprise in there. And when you see this guy with a soccer T-shirt and all that in the middle of all these books, you see a person that is like in some sort of so a wider shot for him, and because he's in a small place as well, right? And
Yeah.
like
Yeah, but here you're absolutely right. You got it. I had actually, that's why I was hired for this movie, and it was by telephone. It's because I developed a theory to design the movie. So I knew Steven just years before we had a drink or whatever. And I'm Brazilian, United States. This guy is doing a movie about the Queen, and. So I saw the script, and this is really a conversation between Tony Blair and the Queen, and this is true. When the Princess Diana died, they have this big crisis in England because the monarchy didn't want to pay the proper respects to Diana, right? So there are two worlds. There is the royalty, like you see, and then you have Tony Blair, with kids inside, and the prime minister, they don't get too much money, and they live really in some kind of nice house, but full of kids and stuff like that. So I said, look, we need to do a subliminal difference between the two worlds, and I said, look, why don't we shoot the royalty with the Super 35? Everything on the tripod, and I operate myself. I'm very good in the gear heads, because you have very subtle movements, dollies, cranes, but everything real well composed, And then the Tony Blair, I said to him, well, let's shoot in Super 16, handheld with a zoom on it, and I want another operator. I'm not going to operate. I want a guy who can carry the camera and do things. So you see, I don't think these things really handheld, but you see we use zooms, and stuff like that. And there are other scenes that the guys go bananas and the operator goes, and it has much more. And then we have Steadicam, and we have other things, but this is what we're about. I mean, it's design. And here also, he looks very well. You see the Queen, and everything is kind of telephoto-ish. It's kind of more pictorial, and you don't see colors, but they are a little desaturated on the grading. And the Prime Minister more colorful, and wider lenses, more distortive, more,
Yeah, and it's incredible how those things work in terms of fluence and timing on the scenes, right? Because sometimes people tend to put those people talking and have some sort of unity in terms of how they are. And here you can see that this guy's like walking on his room on the phone and all that, and sits and stands up, and she's in totally different timing, right?
Yeah.
As well as the camera movements and all that.
Yeah, it's mise en scène, it's direct and stuff like that. And when I gave this theory to Steven over the telephone, he was in London, I was in LA, he said, you hire it. No, really. Wow. I mean, Steve is a very, I love him, and he's a very intelligent guy, and very, very difficult to work, because he's like Snehal. He wants something, he controls you, and he wants. And, to take him out of that contest is very difficult. But he is also work with wonderful cameramen and stuff like that. But he interviewed other cameramen, English cameramen, because you call a Brazilian to do something in England by an English famous director, I said something right to him, and that's very important, because yesterday you talking, in the series panel that they have, they're talking script interpretation, and it's not only the interpretation, it's that you need to come up with a theory. In cinematography has lots of elements. Have film, camera, color, contrast. They have, like 12 elements that you need to control. It's a very, complex kind of art, right? Cinematography is very complex. But so you need to design and make maybe not using this, not using that, but using this and using that, but control everything. Right? Because it's design. Absolutely. And that's what it is. I think we don't need to show the other thing. Carlão, it's up to you. 2 minutes. Perguntas.
You want to watch the last clip?
Well, there's a last clip of Dark Water. You know, I think it's 2 minutes.
Yeah? Let's watch it.
Luz, por favor, e depois a gente faz as perguntinhas. Luz, por favor, pode apagar?
To note, this speaks to Affonso's creativity and also his range, because this is a horror film, so this is much unlike anything else you've seen so far. Oops, sorry, 1 second. Turn the audio off. There we go.
Take it easy.
It's fun.
The fucking brats. I'm gonna kill them. You see them coming out of here?
Who?
Asshole Steve, 3F, and his buddy, Dumb Billy, 7'8". You don't know them?
No.
Look, here's the story. 10F's away. Father's left the country. Where the mother is, God knows. They've been away for months. Probably not coming back. Those punks have stolen a key and get in here.
Why?
What do I know? Drugs? Backy, you know. Look, I clean up this place and then I come down to your place. Huh? Murray called me. I tell him I take it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, this was pure challenge, and I believe I would love that you could see this in the originals, and this was all shot in film, you know, finished in film, and for me it's top, you know, it was Panavision, Kodak film. I did lots of work with a chemical process called bleach bypass. I couldn't do it on the original because the studios don't let you change the original negative because of insurance and stuff like that. But I could work on the intermediate process. You know, I had an incredible. I'm the movie that I'm very more proud of it. I mean, if you see the whole movie, it's. But the challenge is this is. They're shot in apartments. The apartments are all fake. This is all stage. But Walter Salles, which is, you know, my friend, and I consider a great director, very well prepared for everything. And the apartments are very straight, you know. And we said, we're not going to touch anything. We're not going to take the ceilings. There is no place to light. And we said, let's do that. So, and why are we going to use? I use CinemaScope. Because then, you know, the choice of the format, you know, would create more claustrophobia than, you know, shoot with another format. Because instead of, if you shoot a corridor with a small thing, it looks large. But if you shoot with the large, it looks smaller, you know. So there is like a choice of things that also all about design and, you know, choice of lenses, you know, this is very complex study. I had money, I had weeks, I had a great crew. This was shot at 85% in Canada in the stage, and then like maybe 25% was shot on location in New York. This takes place in New York City. And it's raining all the time, you know, and it's very complex kind of production, you know. But, you know, it's challenging every day. But we had, what a pleasure, you know, and also to work with this actress and with top actors and stuff like that because they're not arrogant. You know, this woman had already an Academy Award. She had a baby, 3 months baby, and she would give milk to the baby, and we stopped, and I told her, what's her name?
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer said, listen, I'm sorry, this is a dark movie, and, I think it's obvious, she's a very intelligent woman. I said to her, I'm not going to play glamour with her, with you. She said, Affonso, do whatever you want. I understand that. Do your stuff. She's one of the most beautiful women. I mean, like, perfection. People think it, she is. And so she's very kind of secure what she's doing. But a fighter, because she's a young mother, it's her first baby and stuff like that, and this woman is kicking door, going into the water, because if you see the movie, she suffers a lot, and she suffered physically doing the movie, and she was there, incredible professional, very secure. Look, we have some minutes for questions, right, Carla?
3.
Nah.
Please.
Okay.
No, you must finish, please.
So if you have any questions, thank you very much. Now let's have a clap for him.
Thank you. Let's have a hand for Affonso Beato and Marcelo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gente,
what a wonderful conversation.
Affonso, realmente a gente está meio em cima da hora. Alguém tem pergunta, gente? Se tiver, tudo bem, não tem problema.
Aqui.
Só que não muitas, por favor, porque a gente está em cima da hora. Ele tem microfone, para poder a tradução?
Headphone for you.
Oh, for me, because it's okay.
No, okay?
Don't worry about me.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Senhor Affonso,
pede você. Fala.
Na última palestra que o senhor deu, você falou sobre a predileção sobre luz, sobre luz dura, preto profundo, contraste e uma talvez paixão por fotografia modernista, né? Isso, apesar de cada filme servir uma estética diferente, essa tuas preferências. Eu estou curioso para saber, dentro da sua filmografia, quais são os filmes que você sentiu que você pode usar melhor essas qualidades, né? E se esses filmes aconteceram, por acaso os filmes que você mais estético aconteceram ou não com os diretores que você mais gostou de fotografar?
Olha, eu não posso falar de diretor, porque eu posso falar de diretor agora porque eu estou aposentado, então eu posso pichar quem eu quiser, que ninguém vai me contratar mais. Mas é uma grande pergunta. E eu vou te dizer um troço, e eu quero fazer uma homenagem, porque eu fiz um filme com Glauber Rocha em 1968, Milagres, eu não sei se vocês sabem, na Bahia. A Rio Bahia tinha sido inaugurada. Nós levamos 21 dias para fazer esse filme. Nós não parávamos, nós fizemos em 21 dias, porque a equipe toda queria ir embora, porque Milagres é um problema, essa cidade. Mas tudo bem, muito bem. Eu fiz em 21 dias, nunca vi um fotograma do filme enquanto eu filmava. Tá? Então, é tudo feito na cabeça, na métrica, na calculação. Mas eu fiz... I'm speaking...
Oh, don't worry about me. It's okay.
Ok.
No problem.
Mas eu fiz uma coisa que foi ousar. Mas olha só, não é ousar, porra louca, faço qualquer coisa. Eu sou ousado. Não. I'm going to go to English. I dare to do something that I would believe, because I knew the technology or how to do. I knew that if I push the negative, the primary colors would be more striking. And there's some myths, like you go to shoot in the Northeast here, and you think, there's going to be sun all the time. Bullshit. Most of the time it's cloudy. And we want colors and stuff like that. So I spoke to Glauber and I said, I want to go into this process. Okay? And he said, do whatever you want. I trust you. And Glauber was another guy that listened to you. Everybody say, Glauber was crazy and stuff like that. No. Glauber was very intelligent, would read like a book per day, and he You know, he would listen to people, ideas and stuff like that, and we work together. Okay, just to pay this homage to you. All the directors in the world, the important directors that I work with, it has one thing in common. They have seen that movie, you know, that I done in 1968, and they love it. So Stephen Freer, you know, Mike New, you know, of course the Brazilians also, you know, I mean, but you know, and it was really problematic because the negative that I processed was so thick, so dense, that the printers didn't have light power, you know, to print the movie. So we needed to change the printed lights, you know, of here. It was Rex Films, you know, was a laboratory here that we need to modify the equipment to get what I want. And I always been like that, you know. I mean, I study, and when I know that stuff is right, I go for it, you know. But you got to dare with responsibility, you know. It's not dare by daring, you know, because you can really get hurt, you know. But that's it. I mean, you know, I mean, cinematography for me, it's control, okay? And another thing is, you ask a question, you know, what I like and stuff like that. It's not about me, you know, it's about the script. It's about the storytelling, you know. I think this is a very important attitude. A director of photography, for me, is the anti-stylist. You know, we're not here to bring our taste. Oh, I like contrast, I like yellows, I like, you know, this is for people who does fashion, you know, Versace or whatever you want. Oh, they have their marks. I mean, for me, director of photography is the other way around. You know, you shouldn't have any style. You should go for the script. You should go for the vision of the director. You should, you know, and you should get everybody together and try to have the same thing. When it happens, it's wonderful. When it doesn't happen, you know. But that's it. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes. Gente, obrigado. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado por terem vindo. A gente da ABC Cinemateca agradece a vinda de todos para mais essa Semana ABC e até o ano que vem estaremos aqui. Obrigado, gente.
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you for having me as a surprise.